All right, all right, all right. Wow, this is great music to come out to. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this very special stream. I'm not Professor, but you can call me Nap. And welcome on in. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. It's also gonna be very confusing for the VOD watchers because they're not gonna be hearing any of this music right now. Uh, but it works really well for like coming out. It's so like you can't listen to this music and not just feel pumped. Like you really can't. Like you really can't hear that music and just not feel like you want to go run or just like work out, you know? And I don't like working out. But yes, hello everybody. Welcome on in. Hope everybody's having a great weekend so far. Uh we are we last streamed last night playing some Stardew Valley, which was really fun. It was a nice chill stream, just overall talking about stuff, chilling, hanging out. Um, and I had that itch. Like uh I had that itch to play some Stardew because we didn't play it at all last week. It's been like over 2 weeks since we played, and I was like, I need to get back to my wife. I miss my wife. I miss my wife, chat. I miss her a lot. But no, it was really fun. Um, and not much has really happened since then. It's mostly just been doing some let's see, doing some just work around here and getting ready for today's stream, honestly. That's what most of today has been, just doing grocery shopping and stuff like that. Um, Cleaning up around here, which I still need to do more of because I spent so much time working on this presentation for today for this museum review. Um, because I am very excited and very happy for what we're going to be talking about today. It's going to be really, really fun. I've had this idea, God, for I don't know how long. I mean, we kind of did this already when we did we did like a speed run of this when we did our museum tier list stream, where we were going over a bunch of different museums that I've been to. But this is I feel like I've done like a little bit of this when I've like gone to like I remember when I went to uh when I went to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum that's like reopened recently. And went to those new exhibits. I know I talked a little bit about that and presented a little bit here. But what I'm thinking about doing is when that museum like fully opens, and it's supposed to open like fully open like everything in like July, or no, sorry, in September I think is when the final thing. I know some stuff was just opened, like some more exhibits just opened, and then like this month, like the beginning of this month, and then by the end of this, or by the around September, I think is when the final exhibits open back up. I think that's how that's going to work. So we'll see how that goes. And whenever that happens, I'll probably do another one of these for that. And for any other museums I might see in between in the interim, which I don't know when that would happen. I'm going to be very busy these next few weeks. Um, we'll kind of see how it goes. Um, hey, Kat, hello. Good to see you. Welcome on in. How are you doing? Hope you're having a great weekend so far. Um, yeah, hope you're doing great. We're kind of yapping real quick before we get into it, where we're going to be talking about uh, my time at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, uh, doing a bit of a review basically of that. Um, I'm doing good, just chilling. That's not, hey, we need that sometimes. We need time uh, to just chill and relax, especially on a weekend after a long week of work. uh, But yeah, and then what's funny is that this museum review is the reason why I wasn't at Flora's community stream on Friday because I was at this museum doing this, like, walking through this museum and not and unfortunately I couldn't make it uh to that stream, but it was still uh I was able to catch it like just like a little tiny bit. Oh, because also what happened is that okay, I this just shows I think how tired I was in the morning. So when I went to this museum, when I went to Philadelphia Art Museum, I went by train and I had to take an early train to like, make it there on time and for when they opened. And I thought that I had packed my phone charger and everything in in my backpack. My little port I have a little tiny like collapsible backpack. It's one of those like little like traveling backpacks that like it can squish into a tiny little ball, you know, for like easy traveling and everything. And then you can unzip like unravel it and it'll turn into like a decent sized backpack. I had one of those um that I was bringing all my stuff in and I thought I had packed my phone charger in it. And and I knew I was going to need it because I was taking so many photos and everything that by the time I was done with the museum and done looking around and doing all this kind of stuff and getting ready to go back, I had like almost by the time I was like at the train station ready to go back, I had less than like 10% of my like battery left. I had like 7 or 8%, and I was like, okay, when I'm at the train station waiting for my train, I was like, okay, they have outlets in these, in these seats. I'll just sit here and charge my phone real quick, while I'm waiting for my train. And I dig into my bag and I don't see my phone charger anywhere. I don't see it anywhere. I'm digging, I'm digging, I'm digging, I'm digging. I don't see it anywhere. I'm pulling stuff out. I'm trying to like find it. And I don't have that much stuff. It's not that big of a backpack. Like it's not that big at all. And I'm just like, where is it? I could have sworn I had it with me. I could have sworn I put it in my backpack. Where is it? Where is it? And I didn't have it on me. And the other problem was that the reason why I needed battery charge is because my train ticket was on my phone. So if I didn't have my phone charged and my phone wasn't working, I couldn't show them my train ticket and I couldn't get on the train. And thankfully, two things. One, I was able to not use my phone enough that I was able to have them scan it with just like I had like I think like yeah like 5 or 6% of my battery uh left by that time. And then uh I had to basically I think by the time I got to my car after the train, I think I had 3%, like 3 or 4%, I think, on my phone. Um and after all of that, after that panic and it finally was able to like I was able to relax and like, like I was able to scan the ticket. If my phone died after that, I would be okay. As long as they were able to scan my ticket. But then I get home, after that, and it's late at night, and I'm looking around my apartment, and it's like I don't see my phone charger. And I was like, where could my phone charger have gone? I had it. I could have sworn I put it. If it wasn't in my backpack and I can't find it in my apartment, where did I put it? I couldn't find it anywhere. I was looking and looking and looking. And then I looked. The one final place I look is my not my traveling backpack, my work backpack. I have a backpack, like a regular size, like kind of school size backpack that I bring to work with me and everything. And apparently, in my delirium of being like having to wake up early in the morning, I put my phone charger in my work backpack and not my traveling backpack. Which I don't know how in the world I could have done that because I was putting other stuff in my traveling backpack. I don't know what in my brain just like shut off and made it so that I completely missed um what I just completely missed what backpack I was supposed to put it. I must have been so tired. I must have been so tired. Um but the other good thing though was that we did the other or wait, where was I going with that? I feel like I just lost my train of thought. I guess that's and see, losing my train of thought like that, that just shows how probably how my my charger ended up in the wrong backpack. Um, at least you're able to get home. Yeah, no, exactly. That was the important thing. As long as I kept enough battery so that as long as I had enough battery so that I could show them my train ticket, that's all I needed. And then I was good. And thankfully I had enough. And it finally worked out. Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say. The other good thing was that like because it was a decent long like, train ride, I did thankfully have something to entertain myself that wasn't my phone. I had a book with me. I've been reading on and off for the past few months the book uh oh my God, I'm blanking on what it's called right now by Eric Larson. Uh Something in the White hold on, wait, I'm blanking on it right now. It's a historical book by Eric Larson. Devil in the White City. That's what it's called. I knew it was something White City. Devil in the White City. It's a book about the creation of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, and also its connection to serial killer H. Holmes. And it's a very interesting, very fascinating book. I love reading nonfiction books and everything. I haven't read a ton. Unfortunately, grad school ruined reading for me, and I still haven't recovered, even though it's been several years at this point. I have not recovered from having to read so much for grad school and then like being able to find enjoyment in casual reading. Um, and most of the time when I read nonfiction. I read like historical nonfiction, stuff, like informational stuff. Um, I'm not really much of a like I haven't read a fiction book. What was the last fiction book that I read? It couldn't have been Ready Pla I could I'm it couldn't have been Ready Player One. That was like 8, 9 years ago. Whew. Wow. Yeah, maybe it was, now that I think about it. And honestly, it wasn't even that great of a book. It was all right. Um, yeah, I think that was the last fiction book I read. I can't think of any other fiction book that I've read in between then. It was just like school books for grad school and a couple nonfiction things. Wow, I need to get back into reading. uh, all right. Uh, with all of that though, let's see. I think the last book I read was a book called Small as an Elephant. I actually have a signed copy. Ooh, that's really cool. That you have a signed copy. What's it about, Kat? Is it a fiction, nonfiction? I'm curious. What is that about? Okay, well, I guess the books I guess I have read, um, in the meantime, now that I remember, um, I have read, uh, I mean, just like very like, but they take like 30 seconds to read. They're very short. I've been collecting uh a childhood series that I really love. It was a book series called Magic Treehouse Books. I don't know if anybody's read those or is familiar with those. Um, but I that was the first like book series that I read as a young kid that wasn't just like a picture book. Um, they were the ones that got me into reading, and I didn't realize until I was older that those are the books that got me into history and my love of history. Because it's there. If you don't know, Magic Tree House is about these two kids who have a tree house that is filled with books, like historical, like books and stuff like that, on like different topics. And when they open a book and like when they open a book and point to it, they will go. The treehouse will magically transport like a TARDIS and transport to that time period and location. They're educational in that way, and I loved them growing up. And I've been trying to collect all of them, finding them at like thrift stores and stuff. They're great kids books. Like great if you want to have a kid and you want to like get them into like reading or get them into history. Highly recommend those books. They're really, really good. It's about a boy who goes out camping with his mother, and when he wakes up one morning, he finds that she's disappeared. So the book follows his journey to try and find her. Ooh, and oh, it's like a mystery book. Cool. That sounds actually pretty interesting. Wow. Whoa, pirate. Ni 90 stream streak. Thank you so much. That is crazy, pirate. Thank you so much for being here for so long. That is insane. 90 stre 90 streams already since this was introduced. So that means I've streamed 90 times, I guess, since this since this feature was introduced. Wow, that's crazy. Thank you so much, Pirate, for being here. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I think you now, as of right now, you hold the record for the highest stream streak. That's definitely, I think the highest I've seen before that is like 30 something, like 30, 35. You just got to make sure you got to get triple digits. You got to stick around for the next few streams so that way you get triple digits. Uh, but no, seriously, man, thank you so much. That is awesome. That is incredible. Thank you so much for being around. Um, okay. I think though, with that, let's go ahead and uh let's jump into our review of the Philadelphia Art Museum. Let me get this set up real quick. Another interesting book I have is called Hidden. It's pretty cool. Every other chapter switches perspectives of the two main characters, and one of the characters' perspectives has hidden messages at the end of the sentences in her chapters if you read down the page. Ooh, that's actually really cool, Kat. That's cool that I love when books have like secret, like hidden things like that, or like puzzles and stuff like that, basically built into like the writing and like secret code. It's very National Treasure, like Da Vinci Code, like vibes with that. Was watching yesterday evening, but was lurking because was doing a few jobs. Hey, that's again, thank you so much for being your pirate. It doesn't whether you're whether people are active in chat or whether people are lurking. I'm just happy people are here. That's all. That's all. That it doesn't matter if you're active in chat, if you're just lurking. Just being here is more and more than enough. All right. So let me go ahead and get this figured out real quick. All right. All right. So here we go. Let's transition real quick. All right. So here we go. This is what we're going to be talking about today. I have basically made this presentation very quickly. It's not a very nice or well thought out presentation. It's going to be very just like me word vomiting about what I liked about this museum. Um, and we're just going to see where it goes. Also, depending on how long this takes, because I have no idea, I could how long me yapping about all this is going to take. If we finish this early, um, what we will probably do is transition into finishing the root trees are dead because I don't think we have that long in that game either. So we'll see. Um, oh, and something else. Speaking of presentations, one other thing I do want to mention. Well, I'm not 100% sure what we're going to be doing on Wednesday. It'll depend on if we finish root trees tonight or not. Next Sunday. Next Sunday is going to be another presentation stream. But what it's going to be something that I've actually thought about and wanted to do for a while. It's a stream where I compile some of my favorite people that we've discovered during our research streams because we've had a lot more in the past like 6 months. We've had like a lot more kind of newer viewers and everything who might not be familiar with um, some of the stuff we've done in the past and everything. So I want to uh use that like stream to like kind of share some of our because we found some crazy stuff in some of these other stories that people don't even know about. And I think it's kind of a way to kind of like bring those stories back and like, kind of a bit of a memory lane a little bit. So that'll be next Sunday, where we'll be doing that. Oh, and then also I am working on a new YouTube short. I am working on a new YouTube short. It's just that unfortunately, when I started working on it, it was when my air conditioning broke. And when it was like 90 plus degrees in my room, I lost all motivation to work on it. And I've been really busy this weekend, so I haven't had a chance to really work on it here either. So expect a new short, hopefully sometime this week. We'll see how long it takes, but that's the goal. Because I feel like we've been kind of falling behind with that. But enough of that though. Let's get into this because today we're going to be doing our first ever museum review. That is that's what this is. I think this is kind of maybe going to be the start of a series. Maybe we'll see. Um, but I only want to do it to museums that like I am visiting for the first time, like when I'm streaming. Since I've started streaming, I don't want to do it for like museums that I haven't been to like in like 5, 10 years because my memory's not as great. So this is all fresh in the head. I was just here this weekend, so it's all fresh in my head. Um, Worked out very well. So I think without further ado, let's just jump into it and talk about the Philadelphia Museum of Art. All right. So before we get into it, though, I do want to provide a little bit of some background on what this museum is, how long it's been around, and what they have. So just really quickly, the museum itself was founded in 1876. Um, and it was however, the museum that you know it as wasn't completed until 1928. Hey, Binka, hello. Yes, art museum mentioned. Yes, we are going to be talking about an art museum right now. Um, and it's a pretty famous one, which I'll get into that in just a second. And hello, Aeon. Thank you so much for the lurk. Thank you so much for being here. Um, Enjoy your lurk. But yes, so the museum was officially founded in 1876. It was founded during America's centennial, and it was created by the city of Philadelphia, um, for the centennial. After moving a few different locations, the building, which you see under construction in this photo here, was built in 1928, and it has been resided in that building since. It's gone through a couple renovations and a couple expansions over the decades. But in a few years, this building will be celebrating its 100-year anniversary, which is crazy. Um, and this museum itself, um, I was actually surprised. Uh, this museum, according to their website, comprises of 240,000 objects, which I'm going to be honest, I thought that was I thought that was actually lower than what I was expecting. That's still a lot. Don't get me wrong. That is still a lot for any museum, for most museums. But I felt like for an art museum like this, I personally thought they were going to have close to maybe like half a million, something like that. But 240,000, which is still, like I said, that's not, that's nothing to laugh at. That's still a lot. Um, Especially because a lot of art pieces are bigger than like, things you would find in like a history museum or natural history museum and stuff like that. And in the museum of these artworks, most of them are pretty much European, American, and Asian. They don't have any sections dedicated to like African art, Latin American art, Oceania, or like indigenous art from like say like Australia, New Zealand, or even really the Americas. Um, so so that's mostly what we have or what we're working with here is mostly European, American, and Asian. Um, so as we were talking about, the museum that's from 1928 is this building right here. This building right here, which is the whole building. It's honestly, it's a really awesome building. I love it. It's a very like clearly like neoclassical, made to look like a Greek temple and all that kind of stuff. Um, really, it looks really, really cool. And also you have the steps going up to it and everything, how it's on like this kind of hilltop. Very, very cool layout, very, very cool design. I really love it. Which Asian regions do they cover? So they cover like kind of like Middle East, like Persia, like Middle East, India, China, South, a little bit of like Southeast Asia, a little bit of Japan, but it's predominantly China. From what I remember, it was predominantly China and India. From what I remember, and I'll be talking a bit more about. I'll go into more detail on that in just a second. Um, and I want to first talk about, like I said, I want to talk a little bit about the outside of the outside of the museum because that's what you see when you first go there. And I also want to talk about it because whether or not you have been to this museum, you probably have seen this museum before. There is a pretty good chance you have seen this museum before. Um, because it's in a pretty famous piece of pop culture, American pop culture specifically, because while the museum itself is famous, what's more famous is the staircase going up to it, because these are the Rocky Steps. These stairs became famous in 1976 when Sylvester Stallone wrote and created his movie Rocky, which went on to win an Academy Award and led to several sequels and a whole franchise that's still honestly technically going to this day with Creed. Um, and it's a great movie. Highly recommend. If you have not seen this movie, highly, highly, highly recommend it. Um, Basically, what I'm saying is that you can't talk about the Philadelphia Art Museum and not talk about Rocky. Like, and you'll see why in just a second. But what I just, and rather than explain what its significance is in the film and everything like that, I figured it's easier if I just show you. So I'm gonna go ahead. Hold on. I'm gonna hide this real quick. Gonna exit out um of this. And what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go ahead. Or actually, hold on. Let me pause the music. All right. All right. Get ready, everybody, to feel motivated because we are going to watch real quick the famous scene that these steps are from in Rocky. Um, so here we go. Let me turn this back on. Here we go. All right. So, this right here, this is the classic training montage scene from Rocky, which, and with this, if again, if you haven't even seen this movie, you've probably heard this music. It's a very, very classic, um, like tune and very motivating. Um, oh, and something, okay, I'll let the scene play out, but I want to go back and talk about this for a second when we get, after we finish it. Um, but yeah, it's basically just him, and he's going all over all different sites of famous sites around Philadelphia. Um, so much so that like Philadelphia is very much like a character. It's one of those like movies where like the location is just as much a character like as like any of the stars. Also, it's crazy seeing like a really young like Stallone as well because he's really. I don't know how old is he in this. He has to be like late 20s, early 30s probably. Hold on, I'll look that up real quick. Hold on. Sylvester Stallone. Okay, he's 30. He's 30 in this scene, in this movie. And yeah, I can totally see that. And then this part right here where he just starts casual and then he just for some reason starts like sprinting. And he's going really, really fast too. Just starts booking it past this boat. And then here we go. This is the scene right here. There he is, running up the steps. And there's the museum behind him and everything. Very classic scene. Looking down the avenue right there. Yeah, you can see the museum building directly behind him and everything. So specifically because of this scene right here, this movie or this made this location very famous. Okay, but there's actually just one little quick thing that I want to talk about. If you watch this part right here, especially because this movie was it was basically an indie movie for the time. Like they had like very little budget, very little money. Um, and they did a lot of for this training montage scene. They did a lot of like guerrilla filmmaking. They didn't have permits or anything like that. They just went around Philadelphia and just filmed him running. And you can very much tell in uh this scene right here because if you look in the background like everybody's just like looking at him like what the hell is he doing like because it's like it's a guy running through this area and he's like being chased he's chasing a van with a camera in it but if you watch and like you can see like see everybody staring and like more people staring like just not sure what's going on and and apparently that right there, that like vendor who just saw him like and threw him like an orange, that was not planned. That was also just like an improv. Like the guy just like decided, to to throw that at him during that part. Just a fun little bit of movie trivia that I thought was really really cool. But yeah, so that is hold on, okay, let me get back to our presentation here. So that is part of the reason why this uh this museum is famous. It's not just because of the art stuff that it holds. It's because it's basically in a piece of like Hollywood pop culture history. Um and I bring this up because I love this movie. I love Rocky. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. I highly highly recommend it. And because of how much I love this movie, it has been a dream of mine to one day go to Philadelphia and run up the Rocky Steps because that's what tourists do. Like when you're there, like there are tourists like running up and down the steps, because that's what you do. It's like the touristy thing to do. It's like oh, what's an equivalent? That's like another like movie equivalent. Um I'm trying to think. It's like going to uh it's like going to the when Harry met Sally like deli, the like famous like I'll have what she's having scene. Like that's an example. Like it's like that's the level of like, famous movie scene that we're talking about here. And so like I said, I was very excited to go there. I've been to Philadelphia a few times before this trip, but every single time I went, it was for a reason like it was for mostly to go to the like Independence Hall area of Philadelphia, the historic part of Philadelphia, which is nowhere near this. It's like on the other side of the city. Um and so I decided like okay, and so I decided, you know what, um I want to go to this museum so I can run up the walkie steps. Um and I was very excited, very motivated. Like I said, this is like a bucket list thing for me. A bucket list thing for me to like go up and run up these rocky steps. And what ended up happening is that, what you saw in the movie was like, how very open and like, empty a lot of that was while he's running up. And you can see here, it's very open and empty and everything like that. Well, when I went, this is what it looks like. It's hard to maybe tell a little bit from this angle, but you can see right here the steps, at least half the steps are blocked off. You can see right here. I couldn't run up the full Rocky steps. After trying to go here for years, I basically got like Wally Worlded at the Rocky Steps. which is just insane. Like because what they were doing is that they were taking down all of this is apparently all stuff from 4th of July because Philadelphia being Philadelphia, obviously they're going to have a lot of stuff for 4th of July. And so this area looked like this, and I couldn't, I couldn't run up the Rocky Steps. Dreams dashed, exactly. Yeah, like I can only run up like half of them, and like, come on, that's not true. You got to run up the whole steps like Rocky did. That's just how you got to do it. Um, and also when I got to the top, this is what it looked like as well. Again, all of these like stuff that was like halfway being taken down and stuff like that, not really photogenic. And I don't blame the museum at all or anything like that. This was just like bad timing on my end. The fountain wasn't going and stuff like that. It was just a little bit, you know, a little bit of bad luck on my end. Um, but despite all of that, the one thing I was able to see though, still, because it was open, was I could see the Rocky statue. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about the Rocky statue in a bit because this is honestly kind of one of the main reasons. Uh, this is actually the main reason why I went to the Philadelphia Art Museum because they were doing a special exhibit specifically on Rocky and the Rocky statue and everything. Because this statue you see right here is not the original Rocky statue. There's 3 Rocky statues. This is number 2. And this is out here temporarily right now. Because the original statue is inside the museum itself in the special exhibit. Um, and where did they get this extra copy of the statue, you may ask? Well, they got it from Sylvester Stallone himself. I don't know if you can read that, but it says right here, on loan from Sylvester Stallone to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. So so basically, like I said, there are 3 Rocky statues. This is number 2. This is the one that is owned by Sylvester Stallone himself, because of course he owns it. Um, and again, I'll talk more about like the whole history with the Rocky statue in a bit, because this statue has actually been a major point of contention um, in the city of Philadelphia and for the art museum itself. There's actually a lot of drama behind it and everything. It's really interesting. Um, because the whole reason why the statue is here to begin with is because in Rocky 3, I think it is, in Rocky 3, there is a scene in the movie where they put a statue on the top of these steps to like to him. Like that's part of the movie, that's part of the plot. And as like to commemorate him. And after the movie wrapped, the statue was up here for a little bit, but then it was moved to a local stadium. Um, and it was there for decades. Supposedly because the art museum didn't want it there because they're kind of, they're like we're an art museum. We're a educational artistic institution. We're above a 70s, like boxing movie, like stuff like that. We're more than that. But thankfully the museum has, and there was like a period of time where there was a Rocky statue at the museum, but it was actually off to the side. It wasn't on the top of the steps like it is here. It was on like a garden area onto the side of the museum where you could take photos and stuff like that. And then as recently as 2024, the city of Philadelphia finally decided that they would allow the statue to be permanently up here at the top. Of course, he owns it. Yes, he does. And he only owns it. He only apparently bought it recently, from what I saw. This statue was originally at a different, like a sports museum in San Diego, apparently. There was like a sports hall of fame in San Diego, and that's where this statue was. Then that museum closed and it was auctioned off. And originally it was bought by an anonymous buyer, and then that anonymous buyer turned out to be Sylvester Stallone. um and so what they're going to do is when they're done um what they're going to do is when this exhibit in the museum is done, they are going to put that statue back here, and this statue right here, the second one, the one owned by Sylvester, he's gonna take it back and probably put it up in his house. I assume. I assume you could get it recast, probably because also the artist is still alive. Um, Thomas Schomburg, he is still alive. Um, and he has like I'm sure he has like molds and stuff like that still that he could, or you could just recast it based off of this. Um, but it's a very popular attraction. And also, also at the top of the steps, they have this, where you can, they have, his like little shoe imprints and everything in metal, so you can stand. Because originally, this is all that was here before they moved the statue back up here. This is all that was here. Um, which honestly, it's not as exciting as the whole statue. Um, but yeah, and I'm glad. So this photo, hold on, this photo that I took it early, like in the morning when I got there, like right after they opened. Um, and again, showing how popular this is. When I left, this is what it looks like. This is the line to take the photo at the Rocky statue and everything. And again, I think this is why it's also really smart of the art museum to leave the statue up here, because this is basically great publicity. This is better than any publicity they could possibly try to do. When you're in a famous movie like this and part of pop culture, you gotta embrace it. You gotta kind of like, swallow your pride a little bit and just embrace it that this is what you're gonna be known for. Um, but yeah. So all right. So now I also do want to talk about the actual building itself again, because it's a beautiful building. The incredible neoclassical like look to it and everything. Its temple design with the Corinthian columns. And it's a little hard to see here, but they're also like the tops of them are painted, have like paint in them. There's also on only just one of the pediments, which is weird. I don't know if maybe they originally were gonna put all of these statues like on all of the pediments because it's not here. There's nothing here and they just ran out of budget maybe, but this on this pediment they have like a recreation of like the Elaine marbles from the Acropolis um up there. Also I didn't realize that they have ionic. Oh wait, do they? Hold on, wait a second. Okay, never mind. Okay, that's interesting. On the side here they have ionic columns on these sides here, but here they have Corinthian columns as their decorations. Something I guess that like I'm sure most people don't care, don't notice, don't even notice, but that's just a little architectural detail that I noticed. And then once you go inside, it continues that like temple look. This is like the main entrance hall when you go in. Beautiful big central staircase, columns lining the top with like doorways and archways all around. Um, just overall a very, very beautiful building. Um, very, very well designed, very, very cool. All right. And then, so how we're going to do this? Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, there's a bit more of a close up of like, the staircase and everything. It's just very big, very echoey in there. Like it's a really imposing like structure when you go in. It's really, really cool. Um, Now, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go through each floor. There's two main floors that have art displays, and we're going to go through kind of each area. As you can see, they're mapped here. We have the special exhibits in the pink here, which is where we're going to start. Then we're going to go to the green, which is American art. Then we're gonna go to the blue, which is European art from 1850 to 1900, so mostly like Impressionist era. And then we're gonna go to the yellow, which is modern and contemporary. So we're gonna start with a special exhibit, and that special exhibit was about, and again, this is the whole reason I went here, because this exhibit is closing in like a few weeks and I wanted to see it, is this Rising Up, Rocky and the Making of Monuments. So it's basically an exhibit that talks not just, it's not just about Rocky, it is about boxing as a whole and also the history of boxing and history of boxing in Philadelphia, and the history of like boxing and its form in like art. So it starts even going all the way back. Oh, I realized I accidentally cut off part of the pictures here. You can't really see it that well, but it starts with like, showing like the history of boxing going all the way back to like the ancient Greeks, where you can see like this statue of a boxer here, from, the 5th century BCE. And then kind of its progression through like becoming more accepted in uh Western society, through like the 17 and 1800s. Um, and then it also talks about the more modern era of boxing. Recently learned that ancient Mesoamerica has a cool boxing culture as well. Oh, really? That's really cool and interesting. I didn't know that. Because I think they mostly focus on like Western boxing in this exhibit, from what I remember. And also they don't have any Mesoamerican stuff, um really in this museum. So that's probably why they didn't talk about it. But yeah. So it goes into the more recent stuff, as well, and specifically again, its connection with Philadelphia. Um, because the big name in boxing in Philadelphia, other than Rocky, is a guy by the name of Joe Frazier, who you see here. He was born and raised Philadelphia, lived here his whole life. Um, there is a statue of Joe Frazier in the spot where the old Rocky statue used to be. Where they put him there instead. Um, and this is like his most famous fight was between him and Muhammad Ali, where he beat Muhammad Ali. And one thing that was really cool that they had in this exhibit was they had this giant picture right here, and then next to the giant picture they had on this CRT TV right here, they were playing the match. They were playing a recording of the match so that you could like watch it and everything on the old, TV and everything. It was really, really cool. Um, and then uh, and then of course in the middle of the exhibit, is this right here is the original Rocky statue. You can tell because of how worn it is at the bottom down here. You can see it where like everybody's like touched it and everything over the years. Um, you can see like everybody's put their hands on like his feet and everything. Um, So this is the original Rocky statue, and this is what's going to go back outside when this exhibit is done. Um, and like I said, there are three statues. There's this one, there's the one that's owned by Sylvester Stallone, and there's a third one. And the third one is currently on display at the Philadelphia airport. So when you fly into Philadelphia, this is what you're greeted by, which I think fits for Philadelphia. Um, And they also in this room talk a lot about like how they made this sculpture and everything like that, the artistic process for it, and talking about again like the history of it and this kind of contested relationship with the museum, like not wanting to kind of be associated with this, but then eventually kind of just like they're finally leaning into it. And also like apparently, like I mentioned how like the sculptor who made this is still alive, and he was not formally invited to the museum until 2024. Keeping in mind that this statue was made, I think, in 1980, I think, like 80, 81, somewhere around there. So yeah, again, that just really, I think, shows just like how much originally the museum did not want to be associated with this. And I think it's great that they are now finally embracing it, because it'd be stupid not to. It's a moneymaker. You need whatever you can to get people interested in the museum. It it's really, really cool. And then beyond this exhibit or beyond this part of the exhibit, it's a bunch of modern and contemporary art that's related to boxing. Um and I don't have any pictures of that. But that's kind of what the rest of the exhibit was. It wasn't that big of a special exhibit, but what is really cool is that um it's included with a general admission ticket. You don't have to pay extra for special exhibits at this museum, which I think is fantastic. Oh, another another disclaimer, a little bit of a disclaimer that I need to, since I am doing a review, I should probably disclaim this. Because I work in a museum, I got into this museum for free. That is one of the great things about working in a museum is that at most museums, if you show some sort of like an ID badge or something like that, that proof that you work in a museum, you can get into most museums for free. So I do want to preface that I did get into this museum for free. If you were to pay general admission for adults, it's $30. It's $30. I'm gonna talk more about that kind of at the end here when we're assessing everything. All right, so now we're gonna get into the meat of the exhibits, talking about and we're gonna start with the America wing. Now, I really liked this wing. I thought it was really cool and well done. They had a lot of really cool um exhibit spaces like this. They had what was nice about it is that they had a lot of color, and I'll talk more about their immersive design in a second. But what was nice is that as you can see in each of these two pictures here, they had a lot of color in the rooms. Um, to like where they were displaying everything, which was great. They went through the whole basically history of like American art in these galleries. They also had, I love this as well. They had a room dedicated to like American like folk art. So things like, like you can see like a carousel horse right here. An old like jug you see in the background, a quilt, and then like a banjo you see back there in the corner, and like a painted chair, stuff like that. I really love this kind of stuff. They had like you can't behind me in this photo, there are like a bunch of like old sign, like wooden painted signs for like old businesses and stuff like that. Like things like I love that kind of like art, American folk art. I just think it's so cool and like I love finding art in like kind of like more the mundane, kind of stuff. I just think it's really, really cool. Um and they did have some areas, and again, this will be a theme throughout this entire museum. This is only the very beginning of it, where they did an fantastic job of recreating spaces that these art pieces would have been in. So as you can see here, this is a recreation of apparently a parlor from a house in I think the early 1800s that they made or that the homeowner made off of a neoclassical design, and that way you can see these art pieces how they would have looked in that space, adding more historic context, which I think is so, so cool and something that a lot of art galleries are kind of lacking. It adds so much more when you can see things in context, um, rather than just on a blank white wall. Um, and then some again, okay, now we're gonna go through to some of my highlights, some of my favorite art pieces that I saw in there, some of the more famous ones. The one on the left there is a painting of Benjamin Franklin that I was trying to think for a second why it looked so familiar to me, and then I remembered that the Smithsonian American History Museum actually recently had an exhibit on Benjamin Franklin that I saw, and they used this painting as like one of their big like kind of like advertisement and like display pieces, like a print of this painting, where it's picking him as like the father of electricity, where he's like having the him holding up the going up to the key with the kite and everything like that. And then we also got right here um this painting right here. I'm blanking on the name of the artist, but I love it because it's this entire thing is a painting and it is the size of a door of a doorway. And I love paintings like this that are kind of like optical illusions that like trick the viewer into like figuring out like what's a painting and what's not. And supposedly, according to legend, um, There apparently is a story with this painting on the right here, where apparently this painting was on display um, in a house in Philadelphia by an artist, and George Washington visited the house. And apparently, the story goes that when he visited the house and he passed by this painting, he like nodded and greeted like at it just quickly, like at as he was going by it, because he thought the kids in the painting, because these are the two. These I forgot to mention. These are the painter's kids. These are the painter's kids, like on display here. And apparently, George Washington, when he walked past it, he like quickly, like as a quick like a side like hello, like greeting to them before he realized that like they were paintings and not real. Um, that's such a cool and sick painting, but also kind of giving those meme paintings of recent American presidents with big ass trucks and gun. It kind of does, yeah. It's like but it's more. I don't know. It's a bit more. I don't know if artistic is the right word for it, but like more just like it's more like it's less like that. Those are more kind of like what you're describing, Binka, is more kind of like an American thing. This is more like a classical like epic hero kind of thing. But yeah, it is a really, really sick and really, really cool painting. Um, I also just realized we are in ads right now. Um, so we'll wait a second for ads to be done before we move on. It draws more on classical influences, contemporary. Fuck yeah, American. But yes, yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was looking for. Classical influences. Also, something that I will say is that in the America wing, it heavily focused, not entirely, especially once again into the more the later stuff, but a lot of the early stuff, like 1700s and like through like I would say probably like the late 1800s, majority of it of the art and material on display was local from Philadelphia and from Pennsylvania, which again I think is also great. There's been a good, I feel like, shift in art museums recently, especially art museums that cater to a specific city, where they're not just having like the famous pieces, like the famous art. They are also having stuff that is local, that, local residents can like connect to and everything like that, to make it more like digestible and more just kind of like to get more local interest in the museum itself. And this museum does that great. Because there is a lot of Pennsylvania and a lot of Philadelphia stuff specifically um at this museum. In fact, the guy who made this painting right here, again, I'm blanking on his name, but he was from Philadelphia. He was from Philadelphia, and there's a whole room in this area dedicated to his paintings and everything. Um, so yeah, because I know this museum is doing that. I know the Baltimore Art Museum has been like doing some changes that like make it so that their art museum caters more to the local community. Um, it's just overall, I think it's a really good shift in museum culture that is going to help museums, I think, in the long run and help get more local interest rather relying entirely on tourism. All right, I think it looks like ads are done, so let's go ahead and continue real quick. Um, oh yes, and then of course the two rooms that we saw here. What I also loved about them is you can kind of see it here, but like these rooms are filled with my favorite art style of all time. I've talked about it a couple times on stream, so I'm kind of beating a dead horse a little bit, but I don't care. I love it so much. Hudson River Valley School of Art. This is my favorite art style of all time. Uh, and they had a great collection of Hudson River Valley School uh art. Which is very much a lot of like kind of it's landscape paintings predominantly, big landscape paintings that have great use of like clouds and lighting and like haze and rain and greenery, incredible details that you can see like off in the distance here and stuff like that. Like, and there's that one. I think that one was Thomas Cole. This one is by Thomas Moran. Just again, looking at like the colors and the reflection in the water here and kind of the haze that they put into it. And then there's also this one right here with these clouds. This is the Grand Canyon, and a lot of these paintings are big as well. Like they're really, really good size. Like ugh, I just I won't dwell too much on it because I've talked about it a lot on here, but this is my favorite art style of all time. They had a great collection. They had Thomas Cole, Thomas Moran, Albert Bierstadt, and a few others that I'm blanking on names right now. But I know they had like a lot of the pretty much every big name in Hudson River Valley School of Art. Just it's so good. Does Hudson Valley reflect a specific region? Because your description reminds me of those paintings of the Southwest with these monumental but super colorful clouds, but often with cowboys in the foreground. It's probably influenced. Hudson River Valley doesn't. It's not tied specifically to the Hudson River Valley. Like they can be taken from anywhere. Like like this is in this one right here. Example. This is in Wyoming, and this is the Grand Canyon. There's also paintings like this I know in the Met and the National Gallery in Washington D.C., where there are ruins like this is Europe. This is a European landscape right here with a ruin in it. That was another common thing is that they would go to Europe and do this same style there with like a lot of like kind of like ruined settings and stuff like that. It's so those ones that you're describing, Bink, are probably kind of similar. But if you don't know about Hudson River Valley. It's so good. The founder of it was Thomas Cole, who was I'm pretty sure the guy who made this painting right here. He was kind of considered the founder of it, and it's called Hudson River Valley School because that's where he was from, and that's his art school. Is like that's just where it was located. Um, and so people like who trained in that style were mostly from that region or came to that region to learn. But like this is like the only like because I'll admit I'm not a huge art museum guy. I'm way more of a history guy. But these are the only types of paintings that like really get an emotional response out of me. Like they really make me just like I feel something in my chest when I look at them. Kind of like I want to blue skidoo into that painting. I want to live in that painting. I want to just jump and blue skidoo right into that painting and like live in it. Like that's like this is the only type of art I can think of that like really brings that out of me. Um, but yeah, it's so good. I love it so much. So this museum had a great collection of it. And also a great collection of just like other art. They had a lot. They went all the way up to like kind of contemporary stuff. They had some. I know they had some. They had a Georgia O'Keeffe. There they had a few other like kind of like portraits and more modern stuff. And then I saw this, and then I had the exact opposite of the Hudson River Valley School painting. Um, and if you don't know, this is a Rothko, and I hate Rothko. I despise Rothko so much. So I mean, it's like I went from like loving like seeing all of this and getting that wonderful feeling of like I love this artwork. Um, and then I saw this, and immediately it was like what's that meme? My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Because God, I hate Rothko so much. I hate abstract minimalism is really I think what it comes down to. Because I don't want to say that, like I hate contemporary art. There is some contemporary art that I do like. It's just it's abstract minimalism that just because I'm gonna be honest, it to me it just and I know artists might disagree with me on this, but to me it comes off as lazy. Like when you compare this like to this, like the amount of time and effort it took to make this, I guarantee you Rothko did not put the same amount of effort from this to this. Like it makes me so upset. What's the there's that other quote that's like if Rothko has like a million haters, I'm one of them. If Rothko has like one hater, it's me. If Rothko has zero haters, I'm dead. That's me. That's me with Rothko. Rothko's math. There's definitely better color field and contemporary art out there. Yeah, no, definitely. I 100% agree. Yeah. So I had to get that out because I saw this and I was immediately upset. And so I had to, and it was right at the end too of the American wing, right at the end. But now we're gonna move on from the America wing. Um, Now we're gonna move on to the European wing, specifically the later European wing. And I want to say right off the bat is that if you are a fan of Impressionist art and Impressionism, you are going to love this museum. You are going to love this museum because they have some of the best, like, one of the best Impressionist collections I think I've seen. So yes, we do have these Van Goghs here, and this is actually a special exhibit because the sunflower painting on the right, this with the blue background, that is this museum's Van Gogh. And then the one on the left there, that is actually from the National Gallery in London, that is on loan to the Philadelphia Museum of Art right now. And this is apparently the first time two of the sunflower paintings have been displayed together in a museum. So it's a very special, like, like special exhibit that they're doing right now at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Um, I wouldn't say there's a difference in effort because I know lots of folks like the depth of cover that like I know a lot of folks like the depth of color in his work. I'm not one of them, but it's definitely different types of execution. Yeah, I can understand that, but it's I don't know. It's I just can't I don't know. I maybe I shouldn't compare like that, but it's just I'm trying to think of like a way to say it without sounding just like I'm trying to think of just like a good way to say it without sounding just I don't know. Just say other than just saying I don't like it, you know? Hey, Wonju, hello. Welcome on in. Hope you're having a great evening. Sneaks in late, blame shot. Hey, it doesn't matter if you're late or on time. There is no really on time here. Thank you so much for being here. Now I get it, but also my issue too with Rothko is that if he weren't rich, would he be as famous? Yeah, exactly. Like he just got. Yeah, no, I don't think he would be, honestly. But anyway, I'm not talking about Rothko because uh, I'm just gonna get worked up again. um, the uh, I think oh, anyway, yeah, impressionist art, that's what we were talking about. Um, because they had these Van Goghs here, and they had a few other Van Goghs as well. Not his most, like, famous pieces, um, but, they definitely are very, um, very you can definitely tell they're his style, right here. And then there were the Monets. If you are a fan of Monet, not just a fan of impression art, but specifically Monet, you would love this museum. I must have seen at least like 10 Monets while I was there. They had so many Monets and also Renoirs as well, but specifically Monets. There were like whole like this painting or this painting or picture right here. I couldn't get all of them in one photo because there's like 5 Monets in a row right here. They have so many Monets. So if he is your guy, like it was insane how many there were here. Love Monet, but more so the one with people. Like the landscapes are beautiful, but I love the ones with the woman with the parasol. Something so ephemeral about her express. Yeah, no, I see. I'm kind of the opposite, Binka. I'm more of a landscape guy. I love natural landscapes and like landscapes, and hence why Hudson River Valley is more my favorite. Where kind of the people kind of take a back seat in those paintings, and it's more about the natural landscape. Um, but I can totally understand. Yeah, like he is like Monet is still really really good. Like I do like I'm not like crazy about impressionist art, but I definitely do appreciate it and I like it. Um and then of course again in the contemporary and modern section they had tons of examples of like basically all the famous, the famous people are there. You got Picasso, they had Picassos, they had Salvador Dali's, they had Diego Rivera, and a couple other famous, uh, basically all the famous modern and contemporary like artists were basically there. Which again was very cool again because I wasn't like the quality and variety that they had at this museum was insane. It was so good. It was so well done. Like I was so surprised how much they had. Because I genuinely wasn't expecting it. Um, and oh yeah, they also have this Andy Warhol as well. Like again, another famous example um from the time period. I didn't take a ton of stuff in the modern, take a ton of photos in the modern and contemporary sections because that's not really my cup of tea, really. It's not really my thing personally. Um, but I did take a few photos. Particularly, I took a picture of this one's particularly on the left here, and I want to see if you guys can guess why. I want to see if you guys see it as well. I want to see if anybody else sees it. Why I would take a picture of this. It's something about it's like a Rorschach test. Do you see it? Yep, Binka, you got it. Yep, Binka, you got it. It's Among Us. It's Among Us. Like that was I hate that my brain has been like trained to like see that. I was gonna say loss at first. No, that would be crazy if they had. I wouldn't. Do you think one like in like 100 years or so, there's gonna be like loss, like art pieces on display in art museums? Do you think we'll ever get to that point? Maybe one of these days. They'll have a whole like exhibit dedicated to all the different versions of loss, you know. How do we know they're not already there? That would be crazy if um that would be crazy if like some like famous like modern artist like hid a loss like in their art piece. That would be really, really funny. Um and I also took a picture of just these like shelves and the cabinet because oh wait, hold on, I'm kind of blocking it a little bit. Hold on. Let me just disappear real quick. I just love this design for the bookshelves because there are these pieces that are on like hinges that like come down so that you can adjust, make the shelves however wherever you want them to be. And this like cabinet right here that again all of these pieces just open like this. It's like a so otherwise it's like completely closed, but when you open it, you can open it like any way like this. I just think it's like this type of furniture design is looks so cool. Broke back rooms, woke, hidden loss, every gallery space. Oh God, that'd be crazy. Every gallery space you know what? By the time, hold on, let me put myself back here so you can see me. By the time we, like our generation is like in like has like are like the lead curators at museums, maybe we will get that. Lead exit like they'll be the exhibit designers and everything. Maybe we'll get there. Okay. Now I had to take a picture of this because this, as somebody who works in collections management at museums, this exhibit right here is exactly why I could never work in a museum with modern art. Because I don't know if you can tell exactly what it is from this picture view. Um, but let me go ahead and to the next picture, which is a bit of a zoom in. Uh, all of those things that you see on the floor there are pieces of fruit skin, particularly. So like bananas, oranges, like that kind of like margarines, like that kind of stuff. And uh or tangerines, like that kind of stuff. And then they've sewn them back together. You can see they've sewn them and buttoned them like back together. and then have them across the room. As somebody who works in collections management, this this makes me want to die inside because stuff like this, you have to question, how do you preserve this? How do you conserve this? How do you store this? It's rotting fruit. How do you make sure that this doesn't attract pests and like that can lead to damage to other exhibits and other galleries and stuff like that? It just breaks my brain. Oh god. It just makes me so like this right here is why I could never work in a modern museum, like a modern art museum or a museum with modern art because I don't want to deal with living artists. I don't want to deal with living artists at all. I want every artist I want to deal with in terms of museum stuff. I want them to just be dead already, please. I don't want to I don't want to deal with you. Wait, did I ever tell you when I worked as a gallery attendant and there was an exhibit with recycled material, but some of it was organic material that attracted bugs and also had some flasks with real has blood inside? That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Did they have to do anything about the bugs? Did they have to like take the organic material out or did they leave it? No, I promise you, modern and contemporary art exhibits for the most part are not this bad, but the ones that stick out definitely stick out. Yes, no, I know, but it's like it's more. I remember when I took a class uh on conserva or like conservation when I was in grad school. I remember um uh we had we had a whole lecture or like a part of our readings I remember for one of our classes was how to work with artists on how to ask them how you want it to be preserved. And the way that they asked you to like do it, like how you have to ask the artists that how they wanted you to ask artists, it was to like almost kind of like roundabout way. Like you couldn't just directly ask them. You had to do like a roundabout kind of way, like a conversation to like, like get to that subject. And it just like it just frustrated me so much that like why do you feel like you need to do that? Why can't you just ask them, "Hey, how do you want to preserve that?" I don't are they that difficult are artists that difficult to work with that you have to basically gaslight them into telling you how you want it preserved? I don't know. Again, I just couldn't do it. It's not for me. I don't remember honestly because it was a while back. I feel like the curators did something about it, but it just stuck out in my head. Yeah, no, I guess yeah, if you were just a gallery attendant, probably it was way out of your league at that point. That was more something, yeah, that the curators would have to deal with, and I feel bad for those curators. But yeah, all right. So let's get out of the contemporary stuff though. Now we're moving on to level three. We're moving on to level three, which is technically the second floor that has art on display. Um, Now this is where we have a couple things here. Uh, Behind the giant stairway, we have this area right here, which is arms and armor. Um, because every art museum has to have an armory weapon exhibit. Um, then we have the all of this uh pink right here is European art from 1500 to 1850. Um, and then over here we have in blue we have more European art from more kind of like the medieval to Renaissance era. And then the yellow over here is the Asian art galleries. And then for some reason, also in here, they have some American period rooms, which we'll get to those in a second, and just period rooms in general, because oh my God, ooh, this place was incredible when it comes to that. Okay, let's talk real quick first about the central hall and like the staircase. As you can see here, the second floor is lined by these balconies along here. This is the view from like as you go up the staircase and everything. Again, very beautiful central hall and central building. Really, really, really awesome. Um, But then along each of the walls on either side, they had these beautiful, incredible uh 17th century, I believe, tapestries and huge tapestries too. I mean, look, there's a person right there to give some like context. That I feel like gives some like context for like how huge these things are. And here's a more zoomed in one that even though these are technically faded, the colors are just oh, the colors are incredible. Look at those. Incredibly detailed, incredibly beautiful tapestries. And they're just those are just in like the hallway here. They're not even in like an official gallery. They're just in the hallway. Just hallway decoration at this place. Um, but then okay, so then after that, yeah, then we go into the arms and armory exhibit. Um, now I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I am not a weaponry, arms, military history guy. It's really honestly like military history. I would say if I had to rank all the different types of like history, military history is probably near the bottom for me. I'm just personally, it's just personally, not my thing. I don't dislike it, but like, it doesn't like, I'm not one of those people who can like name every, type of tank and gun used in World War II, you know. Honestly, if you start rambling at me about like, um, like if you start rambling about to me about like, all the different types of guns used in World War One, I'm gonna disassociate. It's just personally not my thing. Um, but same to be honest, but the artistry of these weapons looks yes, that is true. That is really cool. The artistry in the weapons is really cool, but I could tell by walking through this area. It's not that big of a gallery space, but I could tell that this area has not seen any like renovation or maintenance in a while. Like this is an area that you could tell was like kind of older and kind of a little not sad, but just like needs a little bit of TLC. Um, especially with this photo right here, you can tell that this was kind of back in the day where for exhibits design they would just throw just like it was more like quantity over quality, and they would just throw a bunch of stuff just like in a display case and just be like, look at all the things. And like you if you wanted to know specifically about more about a certain piece, you couldn't really do that. Also, you can see just how faded the background, the yellow like the fabric is right here, because this is fabric. You can see just how faded it is from the lighting, and you can tell that it's older lighting in here. It's not like modern like LED lighting. It's probably fluorescent looking at it, which is definitely what you don't want in a display case if you want to avoid things like fading. So I would say like out of all the exhibit spaces in the museum, this one was probably the weakest. It wasn't bad. I want to preface that. It wasn't bad, but it was, it was all right. Um, all right. And now we're moving on to the European section, specifically the later European section. Now, uh, I want to start with this photo because I want to show that there were plenty of galleries in this space that were just kind of your standard, um, like rooms with benches and paintings on the walls. There were rooms like that. But a majority of the pictures that I took were the rooms that weren't like that because this museum had some incredible, just not period rooms and also not entirely period. I'll explain in a second. Okay, first of all, look at this. Look at this giant choir choir screen and like from a church that they have just in the middle of this room. They had so much just huge architectural pieces. Like for example, there were so many doors throughout the whole museum, not just in these galleries, but in several other galleries, um, that uh, that just really kind of help. But yes, exactly, Binka. Yeah, more immersive and close to seeing an object in situ. They were so good in this museum at making objects feel like they were in situ, that they were in their historical context, which was incredible. Like there were so many doorways like this throughout the whole museum where they had taken an actual doorway from somewhere, from some sort of architectural element from some place in Europe or Asia or the Americas and made it just incorporated it into the actual physical structure of the museum, which is awesome. And then as you can see here, a lot of these doorways led to like these incredible display rooms of not just like beautiful like doorways and other furniture elements and like carvings and fireplaces, but then they also incorporated like, furniture from their collection. This all this furniture you see like isn't from the room that or the house or the building or whatever that they got the like architectural elements from. It provides them a way to display again, like Minka said, objects in situ, which is it just makes it so much cooler and so much more immersive than just seeing it in a blank wall. And then we get into like the full on period rooms, like this one from I think this was from a salon in France, I think, where you have both the walls, the paintings on the wall, the tapestries on the walls, the siding, along here, and the roof right here as well. It's it's so good. I love. I also I don't think I've said this. Like I think I said this. Uh like I don't know if I've said this. I think I said this on our museum review stream, our tier list stream. But I love period rooms. Period rooms are like my favorite thing in any museum, especially an art museum, because you do get the historical context. It reminds me of how some of the Spanish missions in California set up their rooms for full. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I've been to some of those missions too. Yeah, they do. They also, yeah, they do that there too. But I feel like, at least with the missions though, you're actually in the historic building, that they are from. It's one thing to do it there, but then it's another thing to completely transport it to a museum hundreds, if not thousands of miles away and recreate it so that it feels just more awe-inspiring, honestly, because you're not expecting it, you know? Because because that there were several times when I was going through this museum, when I was going into period rooms like this, for example, where I was just like I out loud said, "Wow," you know, like it happened several times. Like it's just, it's so it's so good. I love it so much. And then also this is another example. This is one of the American period rooms where they have like, the all the like the historic mantelpieces and the sidings and the um ornamental oh my God, I'm blanking on the word for it. Jesus, what is this stuff called? Ornamental not siding. It's like oh my God. Uh the ornamental elements along the ceiling here. I'm blanking on what the official. I'm like for some reason my brain is just like you can't remember what that's called. Hi TCAM cat. Hello. Welcome on in. No, not plaster, not uh tracery. No, it's ornament it's oh God, it's gonna kill me. Um hold on, wait a second. I think I have an idea. Hold on. Not ornamentation. Where are my bookmarks? Uh, hold on. What is it called? What's it called? Crown molding. Jesus Christ. Moldings. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Tea Time Cat. That was killing me. I don't know why I couldn't remember like crown moldings and stuff like that. And moldings. Yes. That's what I was thinking of. Jesus. Thank you. I had to pull up my the reason why I was able to look I find it was because I had to look at my bingos. I like you both like you put it in the chat, cat, at like the same time as I saw it on my I had to pull up my bingo sheet from when we did our historic house Zillow stream. That's what I was looking at because I know I said it on there. Moldings, Jesus, I couldn't remember the name. All right, so now after we spent way too long trying to figure that out. Anyway, back to this room. But yeah, the crown, like the crown moldings and stuff like that. Um, uh, like you have that, which is important and artistic in itself. But also, again, from these are paintings from their collection, like that they are again able to put in context. And I mean, like, look at this. Like all these paintings, like again, they're not originally from this room. They're not like in like a historic mansion or in a historic uh or like a palace, something like that. They're able to incorporate their art pieces into these rooms, and it's so well done. It's so good. I oh it I love it. So oh yeah, and they have it from all different time periods, like or different locations, because we have the like French ones like here. This is the American one. This I think was British, if I remember correctly, and there was a different British one as well. And then we have this one, which is Dutch, like it with like the tile, the Delft tiles, in the fireplace and all of the beautiful dark wood carving and everything. It it's it's so good. It's just beautiful. What I've always said is that if I had like stupid amounts of money, like one like $1 billion lottery or something like that, like stupid amounts of money, and I what I would do is I would build a house where each room was like a different period room. Like each room you walked into would be different. Like that's how I would design my house. It wouldn't be consistent at all. It would be very ridiculous and crazy and over the top and probably tacky in some places, but I don't care. It would just be fun and really cool. That's my ancestry there, the Dutch. Oh, really? Hey, maybe, who knows? Maybe your ancestors had worked or lived in a room just like this, or used some of this furniture, just like they did. That's again, seeing these dishes and stuff like that, and seeing these tables and chairs in this setting is way more impactful, I personally think, than uh seeing them just in a normal gallery. Now we're moving on to some of the other sections, the other European section, which was the older section. We're going a little bit out of order here. Now we're going from like around like the medieval era to like early Renaissance. Which again, as you can see here, they took way more structural elements like these doorways and stuff like that and incorporated them into all of the galleries and all of the buildings. It just looks so good. And then you have these huge like these pictures of the background. Most of the art from this time period obviously is like religious art, so that's what a lot of the stuff in this gallery was, but still it's still like incredibly beautiful even though I'm not religious at all. Like it's still incredible. And again, look at this. They took an entire church wall and and put it inside this museum with the stone and the archways and everything. And then you can kind of see it inside this room. They had like other like stained glass windows and other or like arches and stuff like that. It's the we should it's like the they took this it's like the Patrick quote. We should take this church doorway and push it somewhere else. That's what they did. We have an apartment building in our People's Museum. They made the apartments from each decade or so. Yes, one. Are you wait? Not to. I'm not gonna. Like there is I went to a museum in Europe that had that. I think it was in Norway. It was the Norwegian museum that had something very similar to that. I don't know if that's the one that you're. If that's the one that you're thinking of. Yes, one. So yes, I actually know that. I have been there. I've been there, and I loved that. Yes, I loved that part of that museum. I thought that was so cool. How yeah, like it was an apartment building where each apartment was a different decade, starting in like the 19 like 20s, going up to like to the 90s. Like it was so cool and so well done. Um oh yeah, and here's another giant cool arch as well. Again, you can see the scale with the person right there. Like I have not seen a museum like this that like has like this was honestly reminding me of stuff from like the V&A in like London. How like they were able to take such big architectural pieces and incorporate them into the actual museum building and the museum structure. Now that I will admit that does create a little bit of a problem if you want to change what is in a gallery space. It kind of locks you in to what you can display in that gallery. It doesn't give you a lot of freedom to like change things up, unfortunately, but on the other hand, why would you want to change this? This is so cool. It's it's so well done. Um, and then they also had again a full-on abbey, like an abbey courtyard in the museum as well, inside of it. Um, it's just so cool, and you can like walk around it. How they have like like the arches, like the Romanesque like arches and the columns, um, and all that. It's so good. I love it so much. It's so much fun. It makes the arts feel more alive, and it's also a way for people, like who can't go to Europe, who can't go to some of these places to actually kind of see some of it and like have it be accessible to them, you know? It's amazing. I'm gonna gush about these rooms forever. They're so good. Now, I think I do want to give you guys a jump scare warning. I think for the next slide. The next slide is what I think it is. Be prepared for a jump scare warning. All right, here we go. Three, two, one. Yep, here it is. Hold on, let me move so you can see all of them. So one of the things that I love to do, one of the things that I do in these medieval sections is looking at all of the terrifying medieval babies. Um because they are just horrifying and terrible and like so funny. Uh so don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely digging these period rooms as well, and it's so cool. But I'm so reminded of the joke about how the British Museum doesn't have the pyramids in their museum because they're too hard to carry. I so that's actually that's cool that you bring that up, Binka, because I was nervous about that too with some of these things. I was like, okay, how did they get some of this stuff? And it turns out they actually did provide provenance for a lot of it, and for a majority of these, they were um they were from buildings that were going to be torn down. They were from like buildings that were either already in ruins or were going to be either renovated or torn down. And so that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. Um which I think is really good. It's a way better than just kind of like yeah, exactly. Yeah, they give their provenance. Yes. And I'll talk about that in a little bit too with some other stuff. Um uh but I did want to while we have all these terrifying medieval babies, the first baby has seen some shit. Yeah, they really have. Um I do want to ask you guys tag yourself. Um if you had to tag yourself, which one are you going with? I'm going with I'm either going with bottom center here or uh top left. Also, wait, these are actually not too bad. Like the top right looks the most medieval, and the rest at least look baby-ish instead of the balding man homunculi. I mean, I don't know. This one looks kind of more balding man. Uh, Second from the left is pretty homunculi. Yes, exactly. I was just about to. This one is. These ones, these faces are just crazy. Um, this one actually, like, I think looks the most like an actual. This one's actually not that bad. Oh wait, hold on. I just realized I'm not. You can't see my mouth. Oh, whoops. Nope. Spoilers. Uh, this one right here, I think looks the most uh like a baby. The top left. I just thought the expression on the face was funny. Yeah. Wait, Oh no, I know Binka. I know I disappeared because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see the bottom one right there. I was blocking him. So that way you could see this one who's just like very interested in whatever is he's reaching towards. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that I think I'm gonna go with bottom middle right here, actually. The one who's pondering. I'm vibing with second from the right. Oh wait, so this wait, the like crying one? The top crying one? That's really funny. It's almost up there like I only saw like one or two examples of it, but there's also like there's like medieval babies like this, and then there's also like early American like paintings of children. Like early American paintings like off like those are also like something that I really like. Um because the what is it? Like I saw them. Oh, it was at the at Colonial Williamsburg at their art museum. They have a room that is like specifically like dedicated to like creepy children paintings from like early America, and it's so funny. It's so funny to go in there and like look at them. It looks more like when you tell a cringy joke and you're just like nick nick nick. Not specifically you, but people in general. I wasn't thinking that, Binka. All right, so let's get these monstrosities out of here. And let's move on now. That's all the European stuff. Let me go ahead and bring myself back here. Now we're moving on to the Asian section. Um, now, now again, kind of like I prefaced the European section, there were plenty of galleries that looked like this. That were like your standard galleries with like uh art on display like this. Like in your typical gallery setting. But again, the stuff that stood out so much that was so good. Actually, no, sorry. One other quick thing before we get into that. I did appreciate that they had, of course, capitalizing on the popularity of K-pop Demon Hunters. They did have a little thing here, talking about like Asian like fantasy like characters, and they had the tiger and the magpie with the hat. Yes, and that's an actual Korean traditional hat, and this is an original, like old, like watercolor, Korean watercolor with a uh tiger and a magpie, um, which I thought was really really cool. Hindu art spotted. I'm seeing yakshas and Nandi the Oh, cool. I'm not super familiar with Asian art. I'm like not. I don't know it as well compared to Western art. I know a little bit, but like just enough to get by. But again, the use of architectural elements um built into the walls is so into the structures is so good here. Like they have all this beautiful tile from like from the Middle East. From I think this is from what's now Iraq, I think. Like this beautiful tile work and the rugs up here as well. Like they do such a good job. And then they also have, like the other ones, full on pieces and structures in built into the building. This is part of a Hindu temple from India. That and again, um, to what you were bringing up earlier, Binka, the reason why they have this, because I was a little nervous at first too when I saw this. I was like, well, how did they get this? Apparently, what happens is that these carvings right here are from I think the 1600s, if I remember correctly. And what happened is that in the 1920s, a the temple was renovated. Their the temple renovated itself, and they basically tossed all of these old carvings and pillars aside. They were just like in like an empty lot, basically, like next to the temple. And then that's when the one of the curators at the museum was in India looking for art and found out about these and brought them to the museum. So again, good provenance. It's not, and they also have worked with the community in like, especially in more like kind of recent years. They've worked with um the actual like temple that these came from and the local like kind of the old local community at that temple to learn more about this and figure out exactly like how these would have been like orientated and to get the right like everything right in that sense and like so it's a good collaborative project which I think is really really awesome on top of the fact that it's just gorgeous like it's just really beautiful. I mean like this is just like a close up of these carvings. They're decorated like all the way around. Some of them are damaged. You can see like this one, the face is kind of cut up a little bit. So they're not like pristine because they are old, but like some of them are missing arms and stuff like that. But again, it's just it's so cool seeing these huge structures in a museum setting like this. And then there was also then next was this. This is a uh this is I think it was the entrance hall for a like a noble's house in Beijing, I think, that was also brought to the museum. That again, they are also displaying stuff in, adding that context. And they had, it's a little faded obviously and a little worn, but like the beautiful like you can still see the paintings and everything on all of these beams, on these signs and everything. I remember this is one of those rooms that I like walked in and I immediately went like, wow, I'm so glad this didn't end up in a rubbish pile. Exactly. Yeah, no, it is so good. There's a bit of a unfortunately the quality is not the greatest because I had to use my wide angle lens and also it was very dark in here. But this just kind of gives a little bit of context for like how big the room is and like what it looks like, even though it's not the highest quality. But oh god, it's so good. I love it so much. It is so well done. Um, all right, and then I think the next one, yes, and then there's this other one here, which is like another kind of like temple looking building and everything like that, that had on the ceiling this gorgeous carving, this beautiful and awesome wood carving with this like dragon in the center, like right here, and like some dragons along the edges here and everything. Like it's so pretty. It's so beautiful. Um, and then they also had like this wall, this fresco on the back here, and these carvings as well. These statued carvings with painted on, they're painted and everything. It's man, and then I think the next picture as like the piece de resistance at the end of the Asian art galleries, they had this. They had a full-on Japanese temple and a Japanese tea house that is like, and they make it. I think this is a skylight, but they make it feel like you're outside. And when they brought these pieces back, what they did was they then hired a uh, a Japanese like landscaped um landscape designer and artist to like design like gardens to go around everything. And you can like kind of see inside. This is the tea house and everything with the garden around it. It's so pretty. And you can also look like inside the temple a little bit. They got the tatami mats and they got like, the again, the pieces that would have been, like in a temple like this. It's so immersive and it's so cool. Um I will say this is the only though like well, it's very very impressive. This is the only Japanese thing that I saw at the museum, but I do want to preface that the exhibit halls next to it, um, the exhibit halls next to it, were closed off and empty, like they were like refurbishing them. So I think they might actually have Japanese art there. It's just that those galleries were closed off because maybe they're redoing them for something. Um, but yeah, no, this was incredible. It genuinely like felt like, especially with this tea house, it it felt like I was back in Japan. Like oh wait, I don't know if I've told my Japanese tea ceremony story when I from when I was in Japan. Actually, yeah, that I don't think I have. Okay, I'll tell that story real quick. It's a really funny story. So when I went to Japan, this was like over 10 years ago at this point. Wow. But um I we went to Japan, my parents and we went specifically because my dad, when he was in high school in the early 80s, he went to Japan as an exchange student and lived with a family for 6 weeks. Or no, more than that, I think. I think it was more than 6 weeks. He stayed with a family in Japan for a long time. And then for 35 years, he kept in contact with the family, but never like in person saw them again until we went to Japan 35 years later. So when we were in Japan, we were hanging out with uh that family and everything, and it was really awesome because they took us to some really really cool awesome places that are kind of like hidden and like behind the scene, like places that tourists don't normally go. And one of the places that they took us um was a tea factory and a tea like farm and everything where they grow and make tea. And on the property, they had like a traditional Japanese garden and uh a tea house. Looked very kind of maybe a little bigger than this one, but kind of same vibe. Hey, friendly spore, hello. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're loving this. Yeah, this is our review of the Philadelphia Art Museum. I'm just lamenting about my Japanese tea ceremony story. So we finished going through the factory and everything like that and like the exhibits that they had there. And my parents and our friends, our Japanese friends, we're all in the gift shop. Um and basically what I decided was like, okay, while you guys are here in the gift shop, I'm gonna go out into the Japanese uh garden and go look at the tea house. Um I grew up in the Philly. Oh, really, Spore? So wait, so have you been to this museum before? Have you been to this museum? Because I will admit it was an incredible museum. If you haven't been, very very cool, very very awesome museum. Um, yes, but not since I was a kid. Okay, if you have a chance, I highly recommend going back. It's really really awesome. But anyway, what happened was I go to the tea house and I step inside and there's a person there. There's a oh wait, hold on. There's an ad about hold on, wait. I need to snooze the ad so that way I can tell the story. Um Basically I go inside I enter the tea house and there's a like a little like a lady there, a receptionist, and she sees me, and then she of course immediately starts speaking English. And she does speak she speaks good English. And she says like, oh, if you want to go to like into the tea house, it's, uh like 500 yen or something like that. It wasn't that much. It was like 300, 500 yen. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, sure, I'll do that real quick. So I take my shoes off, I give her the money, and then she says, okay, follow me. And so then I start following her, and she takes me to this back room into the of the tea house. And I go back there, and it's a traditional like tatami mats and everything. And there is a woman there, two women dressed in traditional like kimono like outfits, and two other, and then an elderly Japanese couple who are like, visitors who are doing something. And they tell me to go and then sit with them. And I didn't realize, but I then started taking part in a traditional like Japanese tea ceremony. And the everybody else, the receptionist, like I said, spoke English. Everybody else didn't. So the two ladies in like the traditional outfits and everything, and the elderly couple like didn't speak any English because I, what happened was that because I saw that I thought like, okay, because when you were sitting, they were on their knees. And so I get on my knees, like, because I thought that's how you're supposed to do it. And then they kept trying to tell me something, that like something wasn't right, like I was doing something wrong, and I couldn't figure out what they were trying to tell me to do. And so one of them goes in the back and then brings out a chair. And instead of me sitting on the floor, they had me sit in a chair because apparently I wasn't doing it right. And then what I discovered afterwards was that apparently what I was doing wrong was that the way that they do it is that women sit on their knees, and men sit crisscross. Um and I was sitting on my knees. So I think they were trying to tell me that like I had to sit crisscross, and maybe they thought that because I was on my knees that I couldn't sit crisscross for whatever reason, so they brought me a chair. I don't know. But anyway, we start doing like the actual like ceremony, and there's like a whole thing where like yes, you have to bow and like do this stuff. And thankfully, they serve the elderly like Japanese couple like first, and I am watching them like a hawk the entire time because I am trying to copy everything that they do because I don't want to accidentally insult somebody. I'm already in a chair. I'm already in a chair. I'm already kind of embarrassed a little bit. And 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 I already screwed that up. And it was actually it was awesome. It was so like, and as much as I was panicking a little bit on the inside, it was so cool being able to like take part in this. And like it included like a little like snack that they gave you, and then like yeah, you drink some of the tea and everything like that, and it was really awesome and really cool. And while this is happening, I don't see them, but I can hear the door open for the like reception area, and I hear my parents walk in, like, "Where's Nap? Where is he? Where did he go? He like disappeared." And apparently our Japanese friend talked to the receptionist lady, and she told them he's having tea. And my parents were like, "Oh, he's having tea. What do you mean he's having tea?" Like, and so then I had to wait for the ceremony to end basically to uh um and like finish that. And then afterwards you were allowed to like, look around like, the tea house and everything. But yeah. Well, that's wholesome though that they tried to accommodate however they could. It is. It's really nice. No, they were so nice. What they say about Japan is true, that the people there are so friendly and so nice and so accommodable. Like it's incredible. Japan is like by far, my parents and I agree, like Japan is the best vacation we have ever done. Like like of our family trips, like it is the best place we have ever been to. And Japan is by far in my like top 3 places countries I've ever visited. It's amazing. If you ever get a chance, definitely go. Um Good for you that you got to have that little neat oh yeah, no, it's probably like my favorite memory I think from that trip. And we did some incredible stuff. on that trip. It was absolutely uh incredible. I loved it so much. And so seeing this there, to tie it all back, seeing this there um really kind of like brought back those memories, that I had forgot that I kind of had um from that experience and everything. And it was just so cool. Um all right. We are about to go into ads, so I am really quick um gonna go get some water real quick. We don't have a ton left of this, but I do want to do this before the ads are done. Do you remember what the tea tasted like? No, honestly, I don't. It tasted like tea. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a big. I like tea, but like honestly, most tea tastes the same to me. I'm not. I don't have a good like a refined palate. I am like unfortunately, I don't remember. I wish I did. Like it's it just kind of tastes like tea. Okay, but I think we do have ads, so I'm actually gonna go. Uh, let's see. I'm gonna go real quick and grab some more water because my water bottle is really low. I'll be right back and we'll continue this review. Um, hey Matthew, hello, hello, welcome on in. An American might as well throw the tea in the harbor. Exactly. That's why we did it. That's why we threw the tea in the harbor. We were like, this sucks. We're not paying the taxes on this. Oh my God, I just remembered when we went to, oh God, I remember this. This is so embarrassing and I feel so bad. We were in San Francisco one time, me and my mom, and we were doing a bunch of like the traditional like touristy stuff and we went to Chinatown. And I was like probably like 10 years old, like 10, 11 years old at this age. And we went to a tea tasting like place, like a place that like sells tea and like does tastings in Chinatown. Um, and it was a cool experience. Even as a kid, I thought it was cool, but I wasn't big on the tea. And I remember that I said that all of the tea tasted like to me, like after a while, it all started to taste like green bean juice, like green bean juice you get from from a can. I can't believe that I said that. Oh God. I mean, I don't think that anymore, but like, wow, I can't believe that I said that. My mom brings it up to this day still. She thinks it's really funny. Add milk and sugar. I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I'm just not a big like I just don't do like hot drinks really in general. I love tea, but it all tastes too subtle to me. I need the flavor to punch me in right in the jaw. Exactly, yeah. Um, you might have been drinking green tea. Yeah, it was probably just different types of green tea. All right, anyway, really quick. I'm gonna go grab some water real quick. Uh, and I'll be right back and we'll continue this. Hold on. I'll be right back. Lewis, uh, you're on entertainment Dewey. Do a good job. All right, be right back.
Ugh, I hate the word moist. Okay, this next one is insane. If you know, you know. Someone call the woke police.
All right. All right. I'm back. I hope Lewis didn't say anything too crazy while I was gone. But the fact that the word moist is in the chat, um, I'm not sure. He looks like a scarecrow in the garden. He kind of does actually. He does have scarecrow. I mean, it's the wire arms and limbs very much kind of give that impression. Damn, Lewis. Okay, yeah. Hey, I can't control what he says. He just says things. All right. So anyway, uh, back to uh, back to what we were talking about. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I think we're pretty close to being done with this actually. Um. So let's go ahead then and let's see. What was the next? What's it after the Japanese guy? Okay. Yeah. So then we have the temple. I think this might be the last thing. Actually, now that I think about it. Oh yes. That is, yeah, there was so I didn't just go when I was I mean when you're in Philly, you can't just, do the art museum. You have to do some I wanted to do some extra things after the museum like was kind of closing and everything. Um so there were a couple side missions that I did. I decided to walk down to like kind of more downtown Philly, and I wanted of course to get a cheesesteak. And while I was walking, I saw for the first time one of these little like delivery like food robots. I have never seen one of these in person before. I've seen videos of them and stuff like that, but this is my first time seeing them in person. And what was really funny is that these people in like the fluorescent shirts right here are like construction people. Um and they like you could tell that they saw it coming and they were like nervous because they're like, oh no, because it like they thought it was maybe gonna try and go like where their construction is. But thankfully it didn't. Um Oh my God, those are all over LA. I have seen again, yeah, that's where I've seen a lot of those like videos are from like LA. And it can't be that profitable. It can't be this profitable of a thing to do this. Like, did you have to resist the urge to kick it over? I mean, honestly, it was actually it was hard for me to do it because they give it a cute face. You can't see it from this angle, but they give it a cute little pixely kind of like cat face. And it like I can't I can't do it, you know? If it has a face, it becomes more personified, like humanizes it, and it's like, dang it, I can't do it. It's like when I heard that in Finland, um there's a things at the uh there was at the main like the National Library in Helsinki, Finland. There are these like kind of like this. There are these like little robots that that they use to transport books back and forth between like the shelves and everything. And they're on like this like wheels and they have like a bucket filled with books and they bring it to like, different locations, like, different aisles in like the library. And before uh they had them and they were just like regular basically just like they looked kind of just like, like bucket or like bins on like wheels basically is what they looked like. But then what they did was they put like big googly eyes on like the front of them, and they found that after they put the big googly eyes on them, they um people started actually like being nicer to them. and like weren't like getting in their way or like were more likely to like move out of the way for them and stuff like that and like, to do all like that kind of stuff. It was actually kind of cute. The clankers, yeah. I mean the clankers taking our jobs, yeah. I mean it can't be profitable. There's no way the cost of like maintenance and like possibility of these things like breaking and like there's no way it's like more profitable than like just horribly underpaying a person who has to do it and relies on tips. Yeah, I feel like they're not as villainous as like Waymo's, so I don't feel as much vitriol towards them. I mean, I'm okay. This might be a little, like I might be a little bit, I don't know, controversial is the right word. I'm not that upset about Waymo's. I'm not that upset about like driverless cars in general. Like, I genuinely think that like if most people had driverless vehicles, the roads would be a lot safer because people as a whole suck at driving. And so much horrible stuff happens. The only thing I don't like about Waymos is the fact that there's like nobody in the driver's seat. That's the thing that annoys. I think if you are going to have a driverless car, you have to have like just a person, like either whether it's the passenger or whether it's just who, like somebody has to be in the driver's seat so that if something does go wrong or if there is a unique situation or something like that, they they can, like someone can take over and, you know, like that way there won't be any problems. That's my main issue with Waymos is that they don't have somebody like in the driver's seat. If it was just a driverless car, um, I think it's like better. And I genuinely think that like if everybody had a driverless car, like roads would be overall safer. Driverless vehicles let blind people get around on their own and not worry about being denied by an Uber. Yes, hello, Marf. Welcome on in. And yes, I do very much agree with that. Also, I have a friend who lives in the Bay Area who, she's a, single woman, lives on her own, and she feels personally way more comfortable. Uh, she personally feels like way comfortable and way more safer using Waymos when she's in the city in San Francisco than Uber and stuff. Um, so I heard, and take this with a grain of salt, but Waymos are still remotely manned, but by underpaid overseas workers in the Philippines. I don't uh I don't think that's the case, Spinka, because I've seen videos of like where like a Waymo will freak out with like, somebody in the back seat and uh basically I remember there was one where this car it kept going in circles. Like it just kept going in circles like around this parking lot. And there was a guy in the back and he had to like contact like Waymo like support and be like, "What do I do? Can you do anything to like, like remotely control it or anything like that?" And the help person said no. So because the health person said no, that makes me think that that's probably might not be true, but might not be true. I can't 100% confirm that that it is true and that's not true. I don't know. Who knows? With how a lot of these things, like these things that claim to be AI or claim to be like remote, or like it turns out a lot of them are like not the case. I watch a bit of Molly Burke on YouTube. I actually don't know that Marv. I don't actually don't know them, Marv. Did they do a thing about Waymos? Um, I don't blame her. I don't want to get in a car with a guy I don't. Yeah, no, it's she has said that she feels like a lot safer with like those compared to like Ubers and everything. So yeah, and I don't blame her at all. Um, for wanting that. That's why I take it with a grain of salt. But ever since those Amazon stores were revealed to be remotely monitored by workers in India, it's not as yes, exact. That's why I'm not completely discounting it, but I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Yeah, she lives in LA. Many times an Uber driver has driven off when seeing her guide dog. Really? Wow, that's wow, I never thought about that before. But yeah, I guess that some people probably wouldn't want a dog, I guess, but man, that really sucks. That really sucks that they have to deal with that. But I guess that is a good thing that again, why the Waymos can be, a good alternative for something like that. All right. Oh yeah, we got very sidetracked. Um, we got very, very sidetracked talking about Waymos and stuff. Law requires them to allow service animals whether they want it or not. See, I was thinking, yeah, I was just about to like, I was thinking that too in the back of my head. I was like, wait, don't they legally have to allow? But I guess some just don't comply for whatever reason. There was a recent story about a driverless car that some teenagers were getting drunk and high and also shooting BB guns out the windows. The car pulled over and called the cops on them. That's that is crazy. I think they might still have like cameras in them, so probably maybe somebody could see like what was going on in it. That's probably honestly what it like they still have cameras inside of them so they can see what people are doing. And that's probably why they did that. I don't know. This was a story from NPR. Okay, maybe I'll look into that maybe after stream and see if I can learn more about that. The Waymos might be a good alternative, but I get freaked out by the legal repercussions. But also they're expensive. Yeah, no. Oh, yeah, no. They're expensive. They are definitely expensive. I think they're even more expensive than Ubers, even though Ubers, yes, are expensive. In fact, I found when I was in New York City last year, it's taxis, honestly, taxis are back. Like taxis in most cases, especially if you're just going somewhere quick, like in Manhattan. Not so much if you're doing like like going to the airport or something like that, but taxis in New York are cheaper and easier to get than Ubers because taxis are everywhere in New York. So you can literally just like you don't have to do like stand on the curb for like 10 minutes waiting for your Uber to show up. Um and like you can literally just like I hailed a cab for the first time in New York City when I was there last year and it was so cool. I'd never done that before because before I had just used Uber. But most of the time I found that like the LA or the New York uh taxis were cheaper than uh than Ubers. Um Especially for shorter trips. And the taxis nowadays they all have like, the tech like they've been technologically like changed so they accept credit cards, they make it very easy to tip. Um like, they had like the thing like Uber does where it's like you can type in how much you want to tip or it automatically does the math for you. Like all that good stuff. Oh wow, if nature is healing question. I mean, yeah, I mean it's nice to see like an industry that you thought was like going away to see it suddenly come like bounce back was actually really cool. Same with we also noticed the same thing in when we were in Washington D.C. A few years ago. We used because we wanted to get just to like somewhere very quick, like just on the other side of the like on a different part of the like National Mall. People we were with like really couldn't walk anymore because we had been walking a lot. And we found that it was way, way cheaper to get a taxi to do that than to try and get an Uber, especially because it was kind of getting close to rush hour-ish time. So honestly, if you're in a big city that still offers like a good amount like easy access to taxis, I would try the taxi um rather than the Uber. And also taxis are probably safer because, it's not a random person's car and they're like a unionized, like sanctioned, like, like they are like a like have like they're a legit like organization. They're not like just random people's cars. um wow, yeah, we really sidetracked there. um but I the whole reason that this came up was just because I saw one of these little guys on the sidewalk because I was walking to get somewhere to eat, and I went to this food hall in Philly, called the I believe it's what was it called? The Terminal? Like Terminal Food Hall or something like that, or Terminal Market, something like that. Um, hold on, let me double check real quick. What is it called? I think it's Terminal Market. Yeah, okay, Reading Terminal Market is what it's called. It's a giant food hall, basically. Like one of those places that you could tell like used to be like an actual market like back in the day, but now it's just like a food hall. And it was actually really cool. They had a huge variety of stuff. Um, they had like an absolutely like huge variety of things. Tons of different stalls. Definitely all were pretty overpriced because they kind of accommodate more to tourists. But you know what? I figured why not? I am a tourist. Every once in a while, you got to indulge in the touristy things. I, of course, had to have a Philly cheesesteak while I was there. Paid way too much for a Philly cheesesteak that honestly was kind of like slightly better than mediocre. Like it was fine. But I've had better cheesesteaks in Philly when I've been in Philly before. I've had way better ones. Um, and I paid way. I feel like if I told somebody from Philly how much I paid for that cheesesteak, they would probably slap me because it was definitely way too much. Even though I got like a lot of fries with it, it was way too much money. Ugh. So yeah. So also while I was walking around, um, where would you say you've had the best Philly cheesesteak? You know, it. I've only had like two different Philly cheesesteaks, so I'm not an expert at all. I've only been to Philly like four times, five times now, I think. And I don't remember what the place was that I had the one that I liked. It wasn't super far from the National or from Independence Hall. Like there was one, no, it was a good Philly cheesesteak. It was I'm trying to I don't remember. I could not tell you where it was. I know it was somewhere near like Independence Hall. So again, in a kind of a touristy area, but not on like a touristy street. It was like a few blocks away. That was kind of away from, like the touristy stuff. Um, so it wasn't super touristy looking. And it was good. I really liked it. Had like a lot of good flavors. It was super unhealthy for you, which as a cheesesteak should be, I feel like. I asked because my friend recently told me about how the Korean barbecue in Korea was mid compared to the ones in the US, and it blew my mind. That's crazy. That is crazy. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that like the food from like the origin country was worse than it is in the US. Because don't get me wrong, we have great like food like that in the US, but I would not say that the Japanese food I had in I have in America is anywhere close to being as good as the Japanese food uh in uh in Japan itself. The food in Japan was next tier, like next level. Like same with when I went to Italy. Like Italian food, like pasta and stuff like that, is definitely. I mean, we still have great pasta here in the U.S., but they have great pasta over there, like better pasta over there. Um, like or what's some other like food, like different foods that I've had. Uh, I don't know if I can say fish and chips. Fish and chips is kind of the same everywhere. So even in the UK, it's pretty much the same as it is in the US. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, maybe because Korean barbecue in the US maybe adds more stuff, more flavors than like the Korean one because then they might do more fusion stuff in the US that I can think of. Like that's honestly like all I can like maybe think of why that would be the case, but that is crazy. I will say though that like the best Japanese food, best sushi I have had in the US that wasn't in Japan. It wasn't in New York City. It wasn't in San Francisco. It was in the middle of nowhere, Massachusetts. Not far from Old Sturbridge Village, which is a living history museum uh in the middle of central Massachusetts. There was a Japanese restaurant there, a pretty nice. That was like a pretty nice one too, and it was so good. Like it was like I was shocked. Like it was insanely good that we found that place. That the best Japanese food we've had was in the middle of nowhere, Massachusetts. That's insane, but also awesome. Yeah, no, it's so awesome when you find a place like that where you wouldn't expect it. Um, but yeah, okay, so that's where I had food, and then while I was in uh when I was in the food hall, there was a certain food stall. There was a certain food stall called the Head Nut, and their uh their mascot, does he look a little familiar? Lewis, is this your cousin? Hold on, if we put them hold on. We put them next to each other. Is this like your silly is are you like the serious one and this is the silly one? Lewis has another light. I mean, maybe. Actually, you know what? Let's ask him. Lewis, uh, what do you think of your relative here in this photo?
Relatable.
He is relatable. He is very relatable. I mean, because he looks like you. He looks like you. He actually is literally probably related to you. Nice dodge, Lewis. Yeah, I mean, he's trying to be nice. He doesn't want to say anything too mean to him. All right, let's shrink you back down. All right. So then after realizing that there's more Lewises out there, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. There's more of them out there. Lewis is older. That is true. This could be Lewis's grandson because Lewis is from like the 19 early 1900s. This could be like Lewis's grandson, like a descendant of Lewis. Oh my God, we need to look into his genealogy. We do. We need to do a Lewis family tree. That's really fun. That's actually a really funny idea. All right. And then as I was walking walking back, I decided to walk by here. Uh and this, if you didn't know, this is Philadelphia City Hall. This is what their city hall looks like. It's a beautiful um it is a beautiful uh Victorian building that has like Gothic Victorian building uh that has this huge courtyard in the center of it and these like towers and like you can walk through it. It's like a public like area in the center here, so you can just walk through it all the time. It's so pretty. It's so beautiful. I love this style so much. It reminds me a lot of I think it's the executive offices building next to the White House. Like it's in this same style. The executive offices building next to the White House looks very similar. Like this part right here specifically. Also, I didn't get a photo of it because it would have probably doxed me. But what they also had in this courtyard area, off to the side here, kind of where I am right now, in the blocking the photo, off more to the right. Do you guys remember like last year, I think it was, they did that thing in New York City that was called like the Portal, where it was a webcam with like a live stream with another one with another camera that was in I think Dublin, I think. Um and like it was supposed to be a thing of like, look how cool and awesome we are, like, people talking to each other, doing things. And then of course people had to go in thread uh and of course people had to go and ruin it because they were like flashing the camera and like doing obscene stuff and things like that. Like, yeah, they cut it because people trolled it. Yeah, so actually it still exists. It is in this courtyard. It is in this courtyard in the Philadelphia City Hall. So what that says to me, which is crazy, they thought like, oh, New York City was too wrong, like too crazy. You know where we should go instead? Philly, where they're known for being nicer. They're totally known for being nicer. But yeah, it was there and it was going. There were people on the other side. I don't know where the other side was. Um, I don't remember. Actually, wait, hold on. Can I look that? Let me look that up real quick. Hold on. Uh, yeah, it's in Philadelphia right now. Let's see. Da, 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 okay, but where is it connected to? It just says it's in Philadelphia. Um, it doesn't say where it's connected to. Uh, or does it switch? Does it switch randomly? I think it switches like randomly. Okay, hold on. Da, 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 da. Yeah, okay, so it switches. It switches to other cities. So it can be either it's Dublin, Ireland, Vilnius, Lithuania, and Lublin, Poland are the options. So okay, so European, so it changes like oh, but there's also okay, so they've added some that was an old article. Recently, okay, so there's another one in Ipswich, UK. Oh, here we go. Oh, no, in Binka, I'm so sorry if I butcher this. There's another one in uh Taguig in the Philippines. Taguig? Taguig? I'm so sorry if I'm saying that wrong or if I butchered that. Taguig. That's how it's spelled. I'm so sorry. Probably Taguig. Okay. Yeah, so there's one in the Philippines now too. Huh. But yeah, it is like a portal roulette, like advanced geoget. It really is. City of Bro City of Brotherly Love. Oh, that I'll admit, Philadelphia, it's pretty rough. I don't know where it got that nickname from because I don't know if I really felt it when I was there, to be honest. Uh, but yeah, so So that was basically my day. After this, I basically had to get back on the train and head back home. Um, and yeah, it was a great day. Saw an awesome museum and had an awesome museum, had a nice walk around the downtown, saw this cool city hall, and had a mediocre overpriced cheesesteak. A true Philly experience. All right, so now this is a review, which means we gotta we gotta decide where the Philadelphia Museum of Art goes uh on our tier list that we made here. This is the tier list that we made before when we did our museum tier list. Um, just as a reminder, um, there are five different tiers. I think the motto is meant to be ironic. I mean, at this point, it definitely is. So we have get a membership. So this is the highest tier. This is like the equivalent of an S tier. This is like a museum that I would buy a membership for and go back to all the time and support them in other ways. Then A tier is return for special exhibits. So like one that I would definitely go back to, maybe not all the time, but like definitely return for like if they had special exhibits or cool things. Um, then B is visit at least once, um, which is like museums that like you should definitely go see, like if you are visiting a city, but you don't need to like go back all the time, like constantly. Um, Only if bored is like if you've done everything else in an area and it's just kind of meh. And then skip it. It should be kind of obvious. It's museums that really you shouldn't bother with. um, so you can see here you can see some of our picks from last time, where they were. We have like the couple Smithsonian's, the Met, the museum up and get a membership. Um, We got, in return for special exhibits, we have things like the Louvre, the V&A, the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, Skansen, the Henry Ford, the uh, the Heinz History Center. Visit at least once. We have things like California Academy of Sciences, British Museum, a couple Smithsonian's, National Gallery of Art, Colonial Williamsburg, the National Gallery in London, the classic ABBA Museum. uh, Only if bored, we have a few here like the Postal Museum, the Spy Museum, the Reagan Library, the MoMA, and Plymouth Plantation. And then down in Skip It, these are the ones that like museums that I genuinely did not really like or really while I've been there. We have the Frick Collection, the Guggenheim, the Hirshhorn, and then of course we got the classic Ripley's Believe It or Not and Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. I was playing GeoGuessr recently, and it started me in front of the ABBA Museum. That's really funny. Did you get it right, though? Did you know where it was? Okay. Hold on. Sorry, there's a fly in my room that's like bugging me. I need to get some bug spray. Bro, you went to the Reagan Library? I always think about how ass their graphic design is. Honestly, yes, I did go there like 2 years ago, I think. And as a museum, I tried to look at it, like I tried to like, kind of step back a little bit, try to, like to do an unbiased look. But the thing that honestly, the reason why the Reagan Library is so low is because, and this is a problem with most presidential libraries where the presidents are still or recently were alive, is that most of them are like basically like shrines for that person. And I remember there was a quote from a historian, like a presidential historian, that said like the best time to go to a presidential library is 15 to 20 years after it opened. Because at that point you kind of start to get that more unbiased, like less biased look at it. Um, because at the Reagan Museum, the thing that really made me put it lower like this is because of how they willfully left out certain information about his life, specifically that he had a first marriage and kids before he met Nancy, that he had a first marriage and was divorced. I went through that whole museum, read a majority of it, and I had no idea. My mom had to tell me that after we had gone through it. And that to me really like rubbed me the wrong way. It just uh like the fact that they are actively like, truly leaving out information like that, it just really like messed me. But I will admit though, the Air Force One is cool. The Air Force One is cool. Um and then that's also why like this museum right here, the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Museum and Library is up here, is because that one is so much older and because it has been so long, they did a way more better objective job at looking at FDR, especially when they were talking about the thing I'll always remember is the section where they were talking about the Great Depression and they were talking about like all of the programs that he started to try and alleviate, the Great Depression. And they did a very good job of saying like, okay, the like this program that he started, this one, its goal was to do this, but it didn't work. You know, this one he tried to do this, like this program, this one did work, and this is why, and this is what it led to. This program had like, ends up, like not working at all and was a disaster. Like, like they did a very good, less like unbiased look at that stuff, which you're not going to get in most presidential museums for the past like maybe like four presidents, like four or five presidents. All right. But anyway, enough of talking about these other museums. We're talking about the Philadelphia Museum of Art. We are going to figure out where we think this museum belongs after my experience there. Where do we think this should go? And after much thought, much deliberation, after looking at everything and everything that we saw, or that I saw, and you guys saw today, I guess, I have decided that the Philadelphia Art Museum goes in. Oh, I should have set up a drum roll. Oh well. I should have set up a drum roll. If I had more time to plan, that would have been smart. So this is going to go in return for special exhibits. I genuinely think that the Philadelphia Art Museum was an incredible museum, and I would absolutely go back um, for special exhibits if they were a thing. It has some of the best use of period rooms and period like um uh just like period accurate like settings and exhibit design for their materials. Some of the biggest and coolest examples of like architecture built into the museum and everything. Um and uh just like the amount of stuff that not just the amount of stuff that they had on display, but the quality as well. Like I said, if you love, especially if you love impressionist art, the amount of Monets and Rembrandts or not Rembrandt, Renoirs that they had, Van Goghs, Picassos, Dali, Diego Riviera, like like other people from that time, like later, like modern contemporary art. But then also having a good amount of like American art as well, good varieties and examples of all throughout American history. Um, the only reason that it's not up and get a membership is because it does not have as much variety of something, say like the Met, because um, the Met has, like ancient art, like ancient Egypt, Greek and Roman. It has African art, Latin American art, indigenous art, stuff like that. More Asian art from like places like, like Papua New Guinea and like Polynesia and stuff like that. Um, whereas the Philadelphia Art Museum does not have that much variety. Also, the Philadelphia Art Museum costs as much the same. They charge the same price as the Met for their tickets. It's $30 for an adult, to go in, which I think for the Philadelphia Museum of Art, that's like fine. I think that's an all right price for what you're getting. Um, but for me though, it's like the Met, for example, is the best value of like any museum ever, I think. The fact that it's like $30 and you can spend days there. If the Philadelphia, like, I would honestly describe the Philadelphia Museum of Art as kind of like a mini Met. It doesn't have as much variety as a Met, but in terms of just like the quality of the stuff that they have there, I would genuinely call it like a mini Met. Um, the Met is amazing. You could dedicate a whole week to it, likely more. Yes, exactly. So that's like the gold standard in terms of like like in terms of value that you get with a museum, in terms of the amount of stuff that they have and for the price that you pay. It's if the Philadelphia Museum of Art was cheaper, if it was like $25, then it would maybe go and get a membership, I think. But I think as it is, I think this goes like it's very close, I think. It's very close, but it's like just a few little things. If it just had a bit more variety and was a little bit bigger, it would probably be up there and get a membership. But yes, overall, fantastic museum. Highly, highly recommend. Um, if you get a if you are ever in Philadelphia, highly, highly recommend. Definitely put it near the top of your list. To go and see it. Um, Run up the Rocky Steps, and uh, take a picture with the Rocky statue. Because you're not only getting, yeah, that's another thing too, is that the fact that it's not just an art museum, it also is technically a piece of film history, because that is, where the famous Rocky scenes, and the fact that they've now embraced it, I think is fantastic. I think it's fantastic. But I think that pretty much covers everything I need to say. I just I just kind of realized that I originally thought like, oh yeah, this presentation won't be too long. Maybe we can play a game afterwards. Um Turns out, uh, it turns out went on way longer than I thought, and we're not going to play a game tonight. We're probably going to call it here, um, because, oh, and also that also means that Wednesday, what we are going to be doing is uh, we're probably going to be finishing The Root Trees Are Dead. I didn't know those stairs were. Oh, you did. Wait, hold on, Cat. Hold on. Let's go back to the beginning. Oh, you missed the beginning. We go all. Let's go. Rewind. It's rewind time. We're going back. The whole point of this was to, go see the Rocky statue that they have out front. Um, they have out front the museum. Uh, and the whole reason that that I was specifically went to this museum was because they had a special exhibit on Rocky. And they have the actual Rocky statue there. In fact, hold on, before we go, let's end 1 second. Let me get this. We got to show the clip again, to show in case anybody misses the beginning. But yeah, no, this museum is famous, absolutely famous, because I love these movies, and also I said at the beginning of the presentation and everything that it was a bucket list thing for me to run up the Rocky Steps. I wanted to be one of those like cheesy tourists who runs up the Rocky Steps, and then I got there on this trip, and the Rocky Steps were closed. They half of them were blocked off because of they were taking down stuff from Fourth of July, so I couldn't run up the Rocky Steps. Also, it's just a great excuse to watch this montage again because it's a great montage. And it's just and also this music is just incredible. Like you can't listen to this music and just like not feel pumped. Like this should be at the end of like everyone's like workout playlist or like run playlist. Like if you're on a run, I guarantee you if they you know what they should do? They should play this music on like loudspeakers during like track races or something like that, or like at the finish line for like races or like marathons and stuff. I guarantee you we would break records. This would be the motivation that people needed to break records if you played this music. Because every time when there was one race I remember when I was in high school when I did track. There was one race every year that was like a more of like a fun race where they would play music where during the races, and every year at that race at that meet, I would get a new PR, a new personal best. I would break my previous record, and then yep, here he is. He's running up the steps. I was there. That was there. I was right there. That was me. I was like him. I remember these movies when they were new. I was a kid then, yeah, or I was a kid when, yeah. I know they're classic movies. They're really great. Good old classics. All right. So let's go ahead then and let's head on back to our classroom. And actually, you know what? Hold on. I know, or hold on. You know what? As we're getting ready to head out here, let's go ahead and just have this playing in the background as we try to look for somebody to raid. But yeah, that's going to do it for today, folks. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you're new here, I'm not a professor, but you can call me Nap. I do these streams every Sunday and Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday, we're going to be doing some Root Trees Are Dead, finishing up that game finally. And then on next Sunday, we're going to be doing a another presentation, kind of like this. We're going to be doing another presentation, but it's going to be all on things that are old people that I've researched. We're going to be going back in time because some people are newer here and don't know some of the cool stories we've uncovered in the past. So it's going to be a little bit of a best of presentation of some of the best people we found while doing research. All right, let's go see if we can find somebody to raid. Uh, that was great. Thanks for the stream. Of course, I'm glad you guys are here and you enjoyed it. Let's see. Can we raid? Okay, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna raid Honey Toasty here. They're doing a reading stream. So we're gonna go ahead and raid them and give some support. All right. All right, let me get and then let's put one for followers. All right, so there we go. There's our raid messages. Thank you so much for sharing your museum and other experiences you had. Of course, that's what I love about doing this. I love sharing uh that's one of the cool things about streaming in general is that you get to share passions that, people maybe don't think that much about or and find other people who have those passions as well. Um that's one of the reasons why I love streaming and doing all this. But yeah, so like I said, I'll see you guys on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Have a good day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.